Alright, welcome back to the channel, and yeah, not gonna sugarcoat this one, it's been rough. We're talking 24 points on Saturday evening rough. Gameweek 2 has not been kind. You know those weeks where you feel like every decision just went against you? That's where we're at. Players blanking, defenders leaking goals, injuries before kickoff, the whole works. And the worst part, we spent weeks building this squad, hyping up picks, tweaking drafts, and then boom. The FPL gods laugh in your face. But that's why we're here, right? To take the hits, learn from them, and keep marching on. Because FPL isn't won in Gameweek 2, but it sure can bruise the ego. And if you're sitting there with a red arrow too, don't worry, you're in good company. So today, we're going to break it all down. We'll go player by player, look at where it went wrong, highlight the few bright spots we did have, and talk about what's next. We'll also reflect a bit on how to handle a rough start, because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that panic transfers kill more seasons than bad luck. Let's get into it, starting from the back, where our supposed fortress looked more like a leaky garden shed. So grab a coffee, maybe a stiff drink, and let's get into this disaster class together. All right, let's rip off the band-aid and start at the back, because this week, Sanchez, mate. 3 points and a 5-1 demolition of West Ham. Honestly, when you concede only one goal, you kind of expect your keeper to have at least done something heroic along the way, right? But no. He lets in this ridiculous long-range effort that should have been bread and butter. I mean, I've seen Sunday League keepers deal with worse, and what's extra annoying is I actually had Dubravka sat there on the bench. Burnley at home to Sunderland, dream fixture. But no, I stuck with Sanchez. Just goes to show, sometimes the obvious choice still trips you up. Now, this is where it gets fun. Estev, my 4.0 Burnley defender. What a little bargain this guy is turning into. Clean sheet, solid performance. And at that price, people talk about budget enablers. Well, here's Exhibit A. He's not flashy, but when you get a 4.0 delivering points, you just smile and say thank you. Richards, 2 points in the 1-1 draw with Forest. Nothing to write home about, but also nothing disastrous. He's one of those players you just need to tick along, the eye test is still decent, and the home fixtures make me want to hold a bit longer. But again, 2 points doesn't exactly move the needle. Now, let's talk about the transfer I actually made. Goodbye Frimpong, hello Gyökeres. And you know what? It's one of those classic FPL stories. You bring him a defender, Chelsea somehow forget how to keep a clean sheet, but Gyökeres pops up with an assist. So yeah, 5 points. Not terrible, not amazing, but at least he showed some attacking intent. The thing with Gyökeres is always going to be whether Chelsea's defense sorts itself out. They look shaky, but if they tighten up, he's the kind of player who could be gold. So, overall, defensively, it's been a real mixed bag. Sanchez was a flop. Estev the bargain bin hero. Richard steady but unspectacular. And Gyökeres reminding us that sometimes attack points are the only thing keeping defenders relevant. The lesson here, even in a horror week, those little wins, like Estev, keep you sane. Moving into midfield now, and let's just say it's not a happy story either. First up, Palmer, and honestly, you can't make this stuff up. Injured in the warm-up, 0 points, just a blank spot staring back at me on the team sheet. This is the kind of thing that makes FPL feel like a cruel joke sometimes. You spend all week debating transfers, planning, thinking, and then your guy doesn't even make it to kickoff. And let me tell you, he's on the thinnest of ice now. he's not exactly cheap. And when you've got value picks flying out there, Semenyo, Kudus, even some punts like Wood, you can't afford passengers. Next up, Reinders. And yeah, 2 points. Spurs away was always going to be tricky, but I expected a bit more. They looked flat, and Tottenham came to play. Sometimes the fixture list just hands you a tough one, but I'm not losing faith here. We saw what he can do in Gameweek 1. The upside is still there. You just have to remember, FPL is about patience. One bad result doesn't suddenly make a good pick bad. Alright, now on to the Dutchman who actually saved some face for the team this week. Cody Gakpo, finally some points worth talking about. 10 points, 2 assists, away at Newcastle, that's no small feat. He's quietly turning into one of those picks that nobody talks about enough, but he just keeps ticking along. While everyone is distracted by the bigger Liverpool names, Gakpo's the one quietly collecting returns and staying at a nice price point. Honestly, he's looking more and more like that underrated asset you want to have early before everyone else jumps on. And then there's Rodgers, also 2 points. That Villa performance at Brentford was a tough watch. Brentford didn't even look great in game week 1, but Villa just never really clicked, especially after going behind. Rodgers had his moments, but this was one of those games where the team performance drags everyone down. It's frustrating, but he's still getting minutes, still playing an advanced role, so I'm keeping the faith for now. And then we've got the king himself, Mo Salah. Look, this is not a vintage Salah performance. He didn't really set the world on fire for most of the game, but this is why you own him. 90 minutes gone, you're half asleep thinking, well, that's another blank, and then he pops up deep into stoppage time with the cheekiest of assists. 5 points doesn't sound amazing, but slap the armband on him and suddenly it's 10. That's what Mo does. Even on an off day, he can cover ground for you. He's like that insurance policy you complain about paying for but are glad you had when the roof leaks. So overall, a midfield full of question marks. Palmer's testing my patience, Reinders and Rodgers just ticked over, and the points aren't there yet. But, and this is key, it's game week 2. This is the part where casuals panic and hit the wild card. We don't do that. We bank information. We make calm, boring decisions while everyone else loses their heads. That's where the games are made. All right, onto the forwards, and honestly, this is where my patience really starts to get tested. First up, Watkins, 2 points. Just 2. This was supposed to be one of the safer picks in my squad, Mr. Reliable, but instead it's another blank. Villa didn't look terrible, but they just couldn't create enough. It's the kind of game where you keep checking the score thinking, surely Watkins is going to pop up here. But nope, nothing. It's early days though. He's still central, still involved, and once Villa get rolling, he's going to tick along. But right now, 2 points doesn't exactly screen value. And then there's Mateta. Oh boy, 2 points again. And look, I didn't expect miracles, but this guy plays like a wrecking ball half the time. So you always hope something scrappy falls his way. Not this week. Palace couldn't break down Forest, and Mateta's main contribution was running hard and picking up grass stains. It's not pretty. So between the two of them, we've got 4 points. That's your weekend summed up right there. It's just one of those weeks where the forwards go quiet and you sit there watching your mate's striker score again thinking, what am I even doing with my life? But that's FPL, right? It's never smooth sailing. The key here is not to knee-jerk. These guys will come good. Watkins especially, he's too good not to. Mateta, let's call him a punt with potential and hope he remembers where the goal is next week. Honestly, with my forwards misfiring, the points have to come from somewhere else. Maybe the bench? Right now, it's slim pickings up top. So, in total, the bench actually did all right. If I'd made a few different calls, I'd have an extra 10 points on the board. But that's the game. You live with your decisions, take the data, and move on. No panic, just lessons for next week. For now, it's one to file under what could have been. Alright, before we dive back into licking our loons, let's actually give some credit where it's due, because a few players really turned it on this week. First up, Jurrien Timber, 24 points, 2 goals, an assist, a clean sheet. I mean, at this point, he's basically a cheat code. Might as well turn water into wine while he's at it. But here's the thing. As impressive as that haul is, this isn't the type of pick you whip up your team for. Arsenal's fixtures aren't a cakewalk, and defenders like this don't bag braces every weekend. Fun to watch, not a buy for me. Next, out to Dango. Fresh off the bus to Brentford and already causing trouble. Bags the winner in a 1-0 victory over Villa. Finishes on 13 points. What's interesting is the price tag. 6 million, classed as a midfielder, but playing as a striker. That's the sort of out-of-position gem we love to see. Still, let's not lose the run of ourselves. We need to see more before jumping in, but definitely on the radar. Joao Pedro, though, now this is one I like. 15 points, 2 assists, 1 goal. Looked lively, looked involved, and honestly, if you've got a straightforward way to get him in with no fires to put out, I'd do it. Chelsea clearly trust him to be the guy. Gyökeres finally gets his first Premier League goals, 2 of them for 12 points. He looked okay, but one of those was a penalty, and Arsenal's fixtures get tougher. Good player, probably better value down the line, but not a buy yet for me. And finally, Cullen at Burnley. A goal and an assist in a 2-0 win over Sunderland. Good for him, but let's be real, this isn't the week on triple up on Burnley. Unless your name is Dubravka or Estev, you're probably staying on my avoid list. So, yeah, some standout performances there, and if nothing else, it's a reminder that FPL can throw up some wild hauls in unexpected places. Just don't let it bait you into early transfers for guys who might never do that again. And that's it for this absolute roller coaster of a game week 2. 45 points, yes, just 45, and I think we can all agree that's one to file under let's never speak of this again. From Palmer injuring himself before kickoff, to defenders forgetting what defending is, to my forwards doing their best impression of garden gnomes, this one had it all. But here's the thing, it's 2 game weeks. 2. You can't win FPL in August, but you can definitely lose your head if you overreact. Anyway, if you enjoyed watching me suffer, smash that like button, drop a comment, who's your panic transfer this week, or are you rolling? Subscribe if you want more weekly pain and the occasional moment of genius. Good luck for Game Week 3, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But apparently I decided to crawl this week.